AI is shaping our future, but who gets to shape AI? Today's guest, Mimi Stiles, is a data activist disrupting the way technology is built and audited, making sure equity and justice are at the center. Welcome to the AI Empowered Mom podcast. AI Empowered Mom is on a mission to reduce the mental load of parenthood through AI assistance. I'm Sarah Dooley, founder of AI Empowered Mom, and today I'm joined by Mimi Stiles. Mimi is a mom of four, MIT solver, Social Science Research Council Justice Fellow, chair of the HBCU AI Convention last year, this year, and president of Measure. Measure was founded in 2015 by Mimi to transform data into a tool for justice, and she has dedicated her career to ensuring equity and lived experience shape the technologies of tomorrow. Mimi, I am so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
I am so grateful to have the invite. Thank you.
Well, let's start with your story. Can you share a little about yourself and your family life and how you arrived here as a data activist?
I'm literally out here in these streets, like trying to change the world, and then also at the same time changing diapers. So I have 3 humans that came from me, and my youngest is actually 4, and my oldest is 26 years old.
Wow.
So definitely a wide range when it comes to mommyhood. And I'm experiencing several different iterations of like children growing older into teens and then also into adulthood. But really, my work really involves just seeking justice, using data, and in this case, interrogating artificial intelligence as a mechanism to seeking justice. I do believe that there are different pillars of systemic oppression that have, systematically harmed communities, whether it is healthcare or education or economics, or in this case, technological injustices. And so my work really does involve interrogating those systems so that we're able to rebuild them or influence the way that they are built to serve us instead of harm us.
Can you help unpack that term a little bit more? How do you interrogate technological systems?
Yeah, I think it really does start with something that we talk about as technologists, human in the loop, right? I believe it's a little more than that. I believe it's the humans in the loop. And I have this concept that I call my theory of interrogative reasoning. And it's all about, how many humans are in the loop and the proximity to those humans that they have with the actual issue or the problem that the loop is trying to solve or the technology is trying to solve. And then I also think very deeply about the cultural zeitgeist and and the willingness to believe those humans in the loop about their experience. And so my work at Measure is really kind of takes root in like bringing those humans together to talk about a technological system, whichever it might be, to really assess and really think through, is this system here to serve us? In which ways does maybe bias play a role in this system's outcome or the system's output? And how can we effectively communicate to the technologists that, hey, this system is great. However, there is this bias that popped up, or
Mhm.
it said this about my community, and that's totally inaccurate. And so here is the corrective data in order to make that system better. So it's really about bringing people together in human relationship and conversation in order to kind of poke holes at different AI systems so that we're able to maybe influence the way that they better serve us in the long run.
Can you give an example of how you or the team at Measure or others have poked holes through the interrogation process and made a move toward a more equitable technological system?
We're right now in a 3-year project that is funded through the Robert Woods Johnson's Foundation. We just received a almost $715,000 investment to really think through, like, what does that process look like? What are the protocols around it? We're using what's called the Measure Care model, community advocacy, resilience, and evidence. This is a 12-week evaluation that we do with communities. So far, we've done 108 or so projects in this in Austin and beyond. But using that measure care model, it already serves as as a mechanism to bring communities together to
Mhm.
solve problem. So at the end of the day, we're using that same method in order to talk more about artificial intelligence. We just had such a brilliant conversation in our internal team about the environmental impacts of AI and what responsibility do we have as a tech developing organization and also as an organization that's interrogating AI? Like, what's our responsibility, and even more so, what's our responsibility as Black women that are mostly doing this work at Measure, because we know the harms to the environment that AI poses. And so we used a tool to really assess what should we hold? What should we hold as an organization? What do we need to hold our funders and our supporters accountable to holding? Maybe we don't have the power in order to change something, but maybe our funders or our supporters do. And then what's systemic? What is it that we cannot hold whatsoever when it comes to the health, the environmental health impacts of AI? So what was so beautiful about that was, like, I said to myself, wow, finally we are coming together and we have some power over just the generative AI outputs, right? That we're assessing when we're talking about pushing the button several times over and spilling water on the floor or on the ground, right? When it
Mhm.
comes to the environmental impacts. And so for us, it's really about building out tools and frameworks where people can come together and actually take a moment and slow down,
Mhm.
pause, and have a conversation about how AI is impacting our world, our environment, our children, our health, all the things, because it's going so fast.
And that can you share any takeaways from what you decided to hold and what you decided to either, let go or, agree on as systemic to help make this real?
Yeah, one thing that's just systemic right now is, like, we can't say, okay, this company should build a data, infrastructure in this particular space or place. Whereas we know, though, that a lot of these, data centers are being built in communities that of people that look like me, and or people that may not have, the opportunity to move to a safer environment that's more healthy for their family. And so we know that we don't, as an organization, we cannot take that burden on. But what we do know is that we can, as an organization, create policies, we can create ways in which we interact with AI to make it more responsible and more ethical, right? So that means that instead of us, constantly pushing for generative AI to give us an output, maybe we can all come onto one system together and tap into, the powers of AI
Mhm.
together. So it's only one person, but it's all of us working collaboratively in order to in order to get the output that we're looking for. And then also, when it comes to, like, our funders, well, maybe there are tools that we'll create that hopefully they'll also adopt. Maybe our funders and folks that are key stakeholders within the work would also come together and have a conversation about the environmental impacts of AI. I think there are so many companies out there right now, Sarah, that are building these fabulous AI tools, these new AI agents that are helping us to manage our kids' calendar and school calendar. Golly, today I totally forgot it was picture day, to be honest with you. And I had to run home and go get the hair products and get back to school and get her hair done. Like, that would have been cool if an AI was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know this is what they're doing." But at the same time, maybe those same folks could also employ some of the tools and frameworks that we create at
Sure.
Med. It's all about us communicating them to them.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to hear about HBCU AI Con 2025 and what's coming up in 2026. What were some of the exciting moments that happened and what's coming next?
Absolutely. So the HBCU AI Conference and Training Summit, it takes place at Houston Tillotson University, our amazing institution on Bluebonnet Hill in Austin, Texas. First of all, I have to name every single time, Sarah, that they are the first institution of higher learning in Austin, Texas. A lot of people don't know that, but they've been around for 150 years right now. And so we know that there is so much brilliance at HBCUs, and HBCUs, in fact, are doing so much work in the advancement of artificial intelligence, whether it is their faculty that are submitting fabulous reports and research, or even the students that are just blowing us away with the creation of robots and technology tools that no one would have thought of except an HBCU student. And so the HBCU AI Con is a convening space where we're just bringing together these HBCUs and faculty and community and industry. I mean, just last year we had Indeed as our major sponsor and also Illusion. So fantastic companies that are just really about ethical AI, about making sure that AI is in the hands of everyone. So access for everyone. So that's really what it's about. And we're just excited again for this year. Another 600 people on the campus of Houston Tillotson on, March 10th and 11th. We're also having conversations with South by Southwest, who was also a partner with us last year. So it's just going to get even better. But it's really about need to ensure that there is more and more humans in the loop for when we're talking about the development of AI, and that starts with relationships. So that's our key goal at the conference.
Can I be one of those 600? Can I mark my calendar right now? Should I buy a ticket?
Oh, matter of fact, if you want to do a live podcast from the HBCU AI,
Yes.
we will make that happen. To be very honest with you, so we at Houston Tillotson, we do things differently. First of all, with our illustrious president, Dr. Melba Wallace, we want to make sure that we are first and foremost, in her own words, all the time. So the conference is not your average conference. This conference is one that we have music, we have incredible food, it's just a party. I mean, fabulous networking opportunities. We have robots. So there's so much that happens at that conference and on that campus.
Okay, I've got to be there. If others want to mark their calendar, they want to get on the list, how do they find out more information?
They definitely need to follow Houston Tillotson. So follow Houston Tillotson on all socials, and then also check them out. Just check out Houston Tillotson University early bird badges, but we're still trying to encourage folks that are doing AI and that are building AI systems to also submit for our call of papers and posters. So there's going to be opportunities for folks to actually, be a part of the conference, to be on the panels, to also, potentially hold workshops and trainings.
Well, let's switch gears, Mimi, and go into what we are affectionately calling chatbot mode, but you're the chatbot now. Forget human in the loop. Now you're the chatbot. So I have some quick questions for you, and I just want you to confidently throw out the answer just like ChatGPT would do. Can you tell us about your recent book? What inspired it?
Oh, wow. So I am a time traveler. That is the way that I kind of meditate, is through time travel. I try to transport myself into a different era of time, whether it be 200 years in the past or 200 years in the future, or in my case and in my book's case, to the 90s. And so what inspired me was really the idea of time travel and being able to just revisit my home that I grew up in and make amends with a sibling or two, to reignite the reason why my parents raised us in the way that they raised us. And then also just to honestly reappreciate my mom. My mom, particularly, just really gave so much of herself. And I document that in the book. I mean, I actually tie her giving herself as her melanin actually, dissipating as she ended up having cancer. So I kind of talk about that too. But I needed to re-see my mom, and so that was definitely a big part of why I needed to write this book.
How beautiful. Okay, can you share the title and where people can find it?
It's called The House the 90s Built. and it's a novella. It's a pretty easy read, short read. The House the 90s Built actually can be purchased right now on Barnes and Noble, and it can also be purchased on Amazon.
Tell us one surprising way you use AI in your daily life.
Oh, golly day. AI is everywhere right now. I would say I can't get away from Claude. I mean, Claude is such a great generative AI tool. I love the way that it's kind of branching out into several other tools too. It'll help to create dashboards, which I think has been really critical and important to the work that we do. So I was able to build out this really cool dashboard and share it out with my team and all the things. So that for me is probably my favorite AI tool right now. And then I also like to spook my grandmother out with ChatGPT's voice feature.
How do you do that?
So I call her and will tell her that I want to introduce her to my friend. And so we'll just have like this whole conversation. Of course I make sure that I let her know what's happening. I am about consent, folks. But there's a spook moment at first, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's that computer, huh?" And I'm like, "You are the computer." So
What about one myth about AI or data that you'd love to bust for good?
the biggest myth is that data doesn't lie. Everybody says that, but that's just not the truth. Data does lie. Data is biased. Data is embedded in and humanity. Data is created by us, by humans who do lie, don't necessarily have all the answers. And so that is the reason why it's so important to interrogate these systems, right? That is the biggest myth for me.
Such an important reminder. In the AI empowered mom community, we love celebrating other moms' wins. So, could you share a recent win of yours, big or small, that we can celebrate with you?
So I'm going to keep on just shouting it to the moon and back is the recent investment from Robert Woods Johnson's foundation to be able to interrogate AI, to actually give us the needed funding in order to do that work. So that's one, but I have one other one that I just also have to mention is the historic contribution to Houston Tillotson University. The Moody Foundation just, provided that school $150 million. I mean, it's a transformative opportunity for that school, and it's finally giving that school what they deserve.
Thank you for sharing that win. And I'll note that I asked you for your wins, but you shared wins more broadly. So you're lifting up the wins of others. That's very beautiful.
Thank you.
What about as a mom of kids 4 to 26? You've got to have some parenting hacks. Can you give us a parenting hack or a parenting tip that you use to help other moms?
You know what? Hugs. Long, long, loving hugs. I was never I was never a real touchy type of person. I grew up in a home that we didn't do a lot of that, right? And so what I told myself was I wanted to raise my daughters differently. I wanted to make sure that my daughters knew how much physical touch and physical holding how important it is. And so what I ended up doing with my first daughter, who's 26 years old, was that I would literally hug her and I would sing in my head, "Mary Had a Little Lamb," like 3 times. And I would just hold her there when she was very little. To this day, she is now 26 years old. And when I hug her, she lays her head on my chest still as a grown woman and stays there. She doesn't know that I'm singing in my brain, but she just stays there and it's just such a loving embrace. And just to have that joy of motherhood and, connection to your baby girl, no matter if she's a grown woman or an old woman now or a 4-year-old, that is definitely my mom hack.
Well, last
Sure.
question for you, Mimi, is what's one thing you hope any parents or caregivers listening today take away from this conversation?
To again use the system, use AI in ways that are healthy and responsible for you. You are the one that gets to make that choice. It's not what I say, it's not what my data says or anything like that. It is what is right for you. But I would also say to make sure that you do take a good listen and how much we are exposing our kids to artificial intelligence to social media that's driven by AI, because what we are seeing is that it's just too much for for our kids, a lot of the technology and so forth. So being very cognizant, careful, and interrogate always.
Well, I'm going to take away today that AI and data are not neutral. They're not objective. They reflect the choices of people building it. Unfortunately, may reflect the biases or subjectivity of people building it. When communities lead, equity can be infused in the process of technology, especially given the frameworks and the tools that Mimi and the team at Measure are building. So, if today sparked ideas for anybody listening, I love to hear from you. You can find me at contact@aiempoweredmom.com or send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And if you want to follow Mimi, you can find her on LinkedIn at Mimi Styles. You can find her the Measure website at wemeasure.org. If you want some good laughs and some great inspiration, you can follow her at Mimi of Austin. Thank you again, Mimi, for joining me on AI Empowered Mom. It has been such an honor to speak to you, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you so much, Sarah.